You feel it on your skin. Water dripping endlessly, falling into the same puddle it fell into yesterday and the day before. No dry wood, no roof except stone. What do you do when the rain won't stop for a week? This question sounds like fiction, but it wasn't. This was Tuesday. Of the roughly 300,000 years Homo sapiens has existed, for more than 290,000 of them, there was no roof to count on, no weather forecast. Yet today, the average person in a developed nation is exposed to a full day of harsh weather for less than 5 minutes a year, always moving from car to house, house to office. So the question is this: how did ancient people survive when the sky stayed gray and wouldn't clear for weeks? Let's start with behavioral evidence, since it's measurable. Anthropologist Kim Hill, studying the Ache people of Paraguay, found something striking. Bad weather days weren't wasted days. They were maintenance days: tool repair, hide working, storytelling, teaching. Richard Lee found the same pattern studying the Juhuansi of the Kalahari. Foraging groups didn't panic in bad weather. They redirected their labor inward, using stored food and shelter time for slow, careful work. Inuit peoples showed the same behavior during multi-day Arctic storms. They build, mend, and talk. 3 continents, 3 unrelated cultures, one pattern. Bad weather didn't stop human life, it redirected it. Some of you are thinking these are modern foragers, not real Ice Age humans. Fair question. So let's go to harder evidence, the physical kind, the kind that needs no comparison. Let's look at the caves. At Abri Pateau, a rock shelter in France's Dordogne region, excavated since the mid-20th century, archaeologists found repeatedly relit hearths across layered strata, each one marking a return to the same dry spot in a different rainy season, sometimes centuries apart. Not one fire, dozens, generations apart, all lit within the same 6 meters of dry rock. Then there's Sibudu Cave in South Africa, dated to roughly 77,000 years ago, where researcher Lynn Wadley's team found repeatedly rebuilt bedding of insect-repelling leaves, laid down again and again in the same spot. That's not a campsite, that's a rain shelter, rebuilt and re-insulated, used the same way for thousands of years, not for one night, not for an emergency, for a sustained rhythm of life. So let's reconstruct what a rain week looked like. You wake to sound before sight, not bird song, water dripping steadily off the stone lip into the same puddle for the 6th morning straight. The fire is a coal bed now, not a flame, tended through the night. You don't go out, not really. Maybe a quick dash for water, a check on the traps, but the hunt is off. Everyone knows it. Instead, the group turns inward, and the day becomes a workshop. Someone naps stone into a sharp edge, the crack echoing off the shelter walls. Someone else scrapes a hide, slow and even, because a hide rushed through tears, but one worked over a long gray afternoon comes out supple and strong. Sinew is twisted into cord. A child is shown for the 3rd or 4th time how to grip the owl, how to feel the right pressure through bone. Researcher April Nowell, who studies Paleolithic childhood, argues this forced indoor teaching time may have been one of the most important points for passing down cultural knowledge across the Ice Age, not despite the bad weather, but because of it. And there's talk, long, unhurried talk that doesn't happen on a hunting day when breath and focus are rationed for the chase. Wiessner's research on the Juhuansi found that conversation during bad weather leaned heavily toward myth, memory, and social repair, patching old disputes, passing on where the good water is, tracking who's related to whom. A rain week wasn't dead time, it was the maintenance cycle for an entire culture, running quietly beneath the surface of survival. Then, roughly 12,000 years ago, something changed. Agriculture took hold.
Settlements became permanent, chosen now for soil and water access rather than a dry overhang. And with permanence came a quiet, creeping problem: dense populations, fixed dwellings, and structures that didn't always account for rain the way cave shelters had. Once you build a permanent structure, you're committed to defending it. Defending it means less mobility. Less mobility means you can't simply move to a better shelter 3 valleys over when your roof fails. You're stuck. You repair in place or you suffer in place. The flexible, rain-tested skill of the forager, reading a shelter, choosing it, maintaining it, rotating to a better one, began to calcify into something else: dependence on a single structure, built once, hoped to last. And the bones tell the same story from the other direction. Where Siburu's bedding showed careful, repeated insulation, skeletal remains from early agricultural communities, analyzed by bioarchaeologists including Alan Swedland, show a rise in respiratory stress and joint damage consistent with prolonged exposure to damp, poorly ventilated permanent dwellings. Not more rain, a worse relationship with it. Not for lack of shelter, for the loss of a system that once knew exactly what to do when the sky wouldn't clear. That loss accumulated quietly over thousands of years. Small bands became villages, villages became cities, and the direct practiced relationship between people and a rainy week dissolved into roofs, drains, and eventually forecasts, until today, when a week of rain means little more than a mood. You check the weather app before you leave the house. They read the wind, the smell of the air, the behavior of birds. You complain about a delayed commute. They rebuilt the same insulated bedding in the same dry shelter for thousands of years without complaint, because complaint solved nothing, and skill did. You sit out a storm scrolling, waiting for dry to return. They sat out a storm napping, teaching, mending, making the storm useful. 6 gray days feel like lost time to you. To them, 6 gray days were the time an entire culture quietly rebuilt itself. You've never had to know in your body what it means to keep a fire alive through a week no one asked for. We traded skill for shelter, patience for convenience, and a rhythm with the sky for a roof that lets us forget it's there at all.